Well, hello, action takers. We are back with season 3 of the IDKWTF I Was Doing podcast, and you should feel incredibly excited to be listening in today. In this episode, we are going to be covering my favorite topic, which also happens to be the complete and total core of our podcast. Why is it so freaking hard for so many of us to admit we don't know what the F we're doing until we're already burnt out or it's too late to get help? You know what I mean? We're also going to talk about how Russell Brand thinks everyone should use a 12-step program, regardless if they have an addiction or not, in order to help them achieve their goals. And we're going to lay out 4 specific action steps you can take today in order to get out of that feeling of overwhelm and back on track to getting that big goal checked off your to-do list now. I'm David B., and along with my delightful co-host Teresa Marick, we've jumped into a brand new season. And so for those of you who have been listening for a while, you'll notice where our previous episodes were a bit longer and more conversational, this and our upcoming episodes will be a little bit shorter and much more focused on specific topics to help you get through all the uncomfortable and sticky parts of your journey. So, if you need 2 caring and supportive partners to be by your side while you navigate this crazy world, be sure to hit that subscribe button so that Teresa and I can check on you each and every week, giving you helpful tips, tricks, and bring you quality interviews with other people just like you who are also undergoing their own unique journey. Have you ever started something new and didn't finish it?
You were excited. You invested time and money.
You got stuck.
I'm Teresa Marick.
And I'm David B.
And this is the podcast with 2 ADHD entrepreneurs, and we've been there.
And worked with hundreds of people in the exact same place.
The IDKWTF I Was Doing podcast will take you away from feelings of frustration and overwhelm.
And lead you to the clarity you need to take action and get shit done.
Listen today because it's important to admit that no one really knows
what the fuck they're doing.
Welcome back, action takers, to another episode of the IDK WTF I Was Doing podcast. I'm David B.
And I'm Teresa Marick.
And we're back. I feel like it's been a while.
It has been a while, hasn't it?
Yeah.
We've missed you guys.
We've missed you.
So today we are going to talk about why none of us admit that we don't know what the F we're doing.
Ooh.
Why we don't like to admit that. Because it's true. We don't like to admit that when we don't know what we're doing. Why is that, David?
It's a great question. I think it takes a lot of honesty and vulnerability with ourselves to be able to admit when we're like either just doing bad at something or not doing as well as we would like to.
Yeah, for sure. It's uncomfortable.
It is uncomfortable.
It is not in our comfort zone to not know what we're doing. For me, if I don't know how to do something like around the house, I am not the handiest person. I can figure stuff out, but I have to try really hard. So It takes a lot. So it's like, I'd much rather have someone around or talk to someone. There's a confidence level that you are without when you don't know what to do.
And I think it's particularly frustrating when it's something that you really want to do, whether it's a goal that you have, whether it's like a dream you want to accomplish, something new you want to start, right?
Yeah.
And we get it all built up and it's, yes, I really, really, really want to do this. And then we go to do it and it's either harder than we thought it was going to be, or we don't even get that far because of all the buildup in our head of, well, what if I'm not good at it? What if I fail, et cetera, right?
Yep. The expectations that we have, because if, say, you have this big dream, who are you looking to see that the dream's even possible? Well, there's probably someone out there who has done something like you want to do. So it's, if you're like, oh, well, I want to be like Tony Robbins, there's some big shoes to fill. So when you're looking at these people who fulfilled whatever it is that you want to do, when it's a big goal or a big dream, there's a lot of steps those people took to get where they are at. Those companies, those things that people are doing to be the best at whatever it is. To, even if you're like, I know I can't be Tony Robbins, but I would love to inspire people the way he does or whatever. It takes time to build, and it can feel very overwhelming.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think with the next handful of episodes that we're coming out with, we're going to be really diving into the individual parts of this as far as what to do when we're there and just how to keep moving forward. And I think the first step is very much just admitting that either we don't know what we're doing and we need to do something else, right?
Right. Or even sometimes you might be in the middle of something and you started off knowing what you were doing, but then you're stopped somewhere because you're unsure of the next step or unsure how to do the next step.
Yeah.
So usually whatever stops us from going for those things is because we're not clear and we get stuck.
Absolutely.
But it's uncomfortable to be in that stuck spot. Doesn't feel good.
Yeah. And so the first step really is to just admit that I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, which is just the key of our whole podcast. The first time I ever really heard this that really jumped out to me was with an interview with Russell Brand and Tony Robbins. And Russell Brand, I guess, I don't know a ton about him, but so I guess he was like a big heroin user and then ended up getting off of that. And he went through a 12-step program. And then it's been a couple decades since that. And so he was really comparing the 12-step program to just the personal development industry. And it's amazing because that really 12-step programs, whether it's for drugs or alcohol, are really the biggest like development thing that's not a personal development thing. Helps so many millions of people get off of bad habits and stop doing these toxic things. And it's not therapy and it's not Tony Robbins, right?
Yeah, it's following these 12 outlined steps. It's not like a religious practice. It's not woo-woo where, I mean, I love woo-woo stuff. So no poo-poos on the woo-woos because I love woo-woo stuff. But some people don't resonate with that at all. But then it's not. It's just these 12 steps and it has worked for who knows how many people.
And their first step, right, is to admit that you're powerless. And so I wanted to read this quote that actually talks about the first step in Alcoholics Anonymous. And this is from the rehab house that actually helps get people through alcoholism. And they talk about why AA works and why this step is so important. So they say, those who subscribe to the 12 steps of AA recognize that for most addicts, step 1 is usually the hardest. Admitting that you are powerless over alcohol requires a tremendous amount of courage, humility, and even fear. It can bring a flood of powerful emotions, including shame, anger, and grief. However, it can also be a tremendous relief. So step 1 is fundamentally about honesty. While active addiction is characterized by the lies you tell yourself and everyone around you. So until you reach the point where you choose to get real, stop lying, and accept that you need help, any efforts you make to deal with that addiction simply won't be genuine or effective.
That's super powerful.
I thought so too. And the thing that jumped out to me so much is we just went through the 5-day training with Tony Robbins and his Unshakable Challenge. And one of the core tenets of that was dealing with our core identity, right? And until we're able to change our identity, we're going to continue taking the same action. And I feel like addiction is very much in line with that core identity. So when we see ourselves as an alcoholic, or we see ourselves as someone who drinks every day, or someone who smokes, when we see ourselves as a smoker, Tony Robbins says when someone's counting the days that they haven't smoked, he says he knows they're going to go back because they still identify as being a smoker. Right.
When I've been this many days. And not that maybe, I mean, I don't know that I agree. You shouldn't be proud when you're like, hey, I've been a month without doing whatever, smoking, drinking, drugs, whatever it is. Like you should absolutely be proud of every milestone you have.
Subtle difference between it's been 10 days since I've smoked or it's been 10 days since I've been a smoker.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's just a shift in mentality, I think sometimes, but words have power. And so, yeah, it's not just I quit smoking, but I am not a smoker.
Right. Yeah. And like they talk about in here, until we admit that we can't do it alone. Right.
Right.
It's going to stay a part of our core identity.
Yeah, totally. And it was interesting. What really stuck out to me in one of Tony's trainings that's so relevant right now is he said, you wouldn't use a phone or a TV or a computer that was 10 or 20 or 30 years old. So why are you keeping this identity that you made for yourself 10 or 20 or 30 years ago? And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, damn. Like, it's so true. Like, things get outdated. So do
Absolutely.
ideas and thought processes. I am not the same person I was 10 years ago. Surely not 20 years ago. And definitely not 30 years ago because I was 8.
Yeah. Right.
8 and 18, yeah. Definitely far cry from now. But whoever I decided I was when I was 18, I'm sure I still have some of those ideas from like my teen years, especially early 20s, where I formulated, this is how I do things. This is who I am. This is what I'm afraid of. This is what I like.
Mhm.
Those things aren't necessarily true, but I might still put myself in that category, which then isn't in alignment with who I am now. So,
Or what your goals and wants are.
right.
Right.
So,
Absolutely. So we've got 4 tips to help cement this and 4 practical steps we can take in order to implement step number 1, which is just admitting that I don't know what the F I'm doing.
yeah. So, first tip is going to be reflecting on where you are, what's not working, what you're not happy with, and what's holding you back. And it's like reflecting and really taking note. Because sometimes we're like, oh, it's okay. My job is okay. This thing is okay. My relationship is okay. Well, what does that mean? Tell the truth.
And exactly. I think all of these is a core of honesty and vulnerability, right? So just really being honest about what didn't work, what set me back, and what's consistently getting in the way.
Step number 2 is being honest about your capabilities. So like, what skill set do I have? And if I want to be a brain surgeon, I got a law school. I got to start way far away from being a brain surgeon because first I got to learn how to be a doctor and I got to do all that, right? Like I would have to be very honest that obviously it's not going to be like, oh, I'll just go back to school for a year or 2 and I'll be a brain surgeon. No, there's a lot of steps between now and then. So it's like, what skill sets do I have? So where do you want to go and what do you already bring to it? And if nothing, that's okay. Sometimes we start from scratch and we're like, no, I've been doing X my whole life, but really I truly wanted to be doing like K, like totally different ball game here. And that's fine too. You just have to figure out where it is that what you know and what you don't know. And then what it will actually take, because are you up for it? Maybe you think you want something, but then you're like, oh, I thought I wanted to be a brain surgeon, but I don't want to go to school for 15 years right now.
Right. Or even something, that might not be as difficult. I want to launch a course, right? Or I want to lose weight, right? Or I want to
run in a marathon. One of Dan's friends invited him to run in a half Ironman or to participate in a half Ironman. And Dan was like flirting with the idea of, oh, that could be cool. But then he's like, I am not ready for that. Not this year. But I think in the future, it might be something he does. But he has admitted that his skill set is not where it needs to be in the time frame it would need to be to do this half Ironman that his friend had brought up to him.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's just admitting I'm not at that physical ability yet with the particular skill sets I need for a particular. I need to launch a course. Okay, well, what's the content going to be?
Yeah.
Who are you launching it to? Who's your audience? There's so many
speak
pieces.
On camera.
There's so many like little pieces and moving parts that it's okay. What skill sets do you have? You might have some. What are you missing? What would need to happen to make it happen, right?
Exactly. So step number 1, reflect on what hasn't been working, what setbacks you've had. Step number 2, reflect on your skill sets and capabilities.
Number 3, I mean, we've touched on this a little too already, because it really is, it all goes together, is determining what you want. What do you want?
Mm-hmm.
Because you do have to say, well, what is it that I actually want? Do I want to run in that Ironman? Do I want to participate in an Ironman? I mean, my husband's thinking about it. Great. Good for you, babe. I will cheer you on. No way. I don't ever have any urge to run in an Iron. Like, it would be cool. I have a friend who's completed a couple different Ironmans. It's badass. She's amazing. Like, it's so awesome. And if that's what you want to do, but do you really want to once you actually know what it's going to take to do it? Because would I love to participate in an Ironman? Sure. Great. I'd love that medal. I don't want to do what it takes to be in an Ironman.
And one thing I say often is some people think they want to do things, but what they really do is they want to do something. They don't really want to do it.
Yeah, because for whatever reason, they think that will give them some sort of accolade or some sort of approval from somebody else, or even themselves are like, well, in order to be the best at whatever, I need to do X. Well, do you want to though? Do you want to do that thing?
I want to do it, but I don't want to do it.
I want to do tons of things, guys, like every day. It would be fun to hone my art skills and make little cartoons and put it all up on the internet and make a cartoon book. I want to do that. It would be fun. Do I actually want to take the time and build the skills and do all the things for that? Probably not.
Right.
So I just enjoy all the cute little cartoons I look at online. That
pulls us right into step number 4.
Yep. Be honest about what you need to do moving forward.
Yeah. So once you decide what you want to do, right, we want to decide, are we willing to do it? Is it what you really want to do, or is it what you want to do? And it's can feel scary and vulnerable when you're stepping into that unknown territory of like new skills you need to pick up or new connections you need to make, right?
Yeah.
That's not an easy thing.
Right. Well, and then making like a plan around it. Okay. Even if you just make a high level outline of what would it actually look if you want to quit your job and create your own business. Okay. What would all the steps be? And it's like, okay, well, and then is that financially feasible? Can I work my full-time job that I'm doing while I start building a business so that I can not step into it and have no income? You've got to be honest about what that process actually even looks like so that you can be realistic with yourself about all the things about, okay, is this doable? Sure, anything's doable. Yes. But how much time is it going to take me? How much effort is it going to take me? How much time am I willing to put in? Because if you're like, well, I want to do this thing, but I don't want to put in like hours and hours and hours, like I still want to have some bandwidth left for not just sleeping and eating, I want to have a life too. Great. That's wonderful. It's going to take you longer to hit that goal. It's not a problem.
And I think in future episodes, we're going to really dive into exactly how to do that and how to like weigh out those pros and cons. And,
totally.
Like really specific processes.
We just want to break it down into bite-sized chunks for you. So we're going to take a little break. And after the break, David and I are both going to share some of our experiences and how these 4 tips have shown up in our experiences. So you can see real life applications.
Ooh, I like that. Real life application.
Yeah. So we will see you right after this short break. Have you ever started something new that you were really excited about and invested time or money into, but after doing it for a while, you reach a point and you just feel like, I have no idea what the F I'm doing?
There's that bubbling up of frustration because you're not quite as good as you thought you'd be, or it's nowhere near as easy as you expected. Then suddenly, a wave of guilt comes at the same time, and you don't really want to or feel like you can express this to anyone.
Having a dream you want to accomplish can be very sad and isolating. It's lonely because visionaries tend to see the world the way that it could be instead of settling for the way the world currently is, like most people do.
We believe this so deeply that we wrote a book with the exact 4 steps to help.
This guide is designed to take you out of that feeling of frustration and overwhelm and lead you into the calmness and clarity that you need to reach the life that you know in your heart you're destined to have.
If you've started a project or a goal, but have stopped, gotten stuck, or are starting to feel burned out, this is 100% the book for you.
Go to IDKWTFpodcast.com today and download your digital copy with the coupon code ACTION to get it on us, because we want to join you and be your supportive friends and partners throughout your journey.
It's only free for a limited time if you use the code ACTION by going to our website, IDKWTFpodcast.com.
Check it out today and let's get unstuck together. All right, so I'm going to jump right in. We promised you that we would give you these tips in action. So again, the tips: reflecting on your setbacks, being super open with yourself and honest about your skills and your drive. Number 3 is determining what you actually want. And then number 4 is being honest with yourself about what you need to do moving forward. I think the common theme is a whole lot of honesty with yourself about all these things. So for me, one of my big shifts that I made in my life was when I left corporate America. It was a very long time ago, actually. But I had, right before I was pregnant with my second child. And so this was the beginning of 2011. I was pregnant with my second child. And I was introduced to network marketing. And I mean, I'd known what network marketing was, right? But then I really, really was liking these products that I had used. And then my friend invited me to this thing, and I promised her I would go to this thing with her to hear about the thing. And there were a few things they said that I think any of you who've been to a network marketing thing, they all say the same thing. Oh, yeah, this big grand view of your life. But what I really saw for myself was that me and my life in my little cubicle wasn't working. It wasn't what I really wanted. And I could see the vision of what that company was painting for me. But even as I have moved on from doing network marketing and launching my own businesses, that vision is still there, because I think deep down inside, I knew being in a cubicle, asking for days off, not being available to be with my kids when I need to be, that wasn't the life I wanted. So it really was me like being honest when after my daughter was born, I had a good excuse to step back because we would have had to change all our daycare stuff. But the truth is, I think I just knew I didn't want to go back. I didn't want to go back to sitting in a cube doing a job that was unfulfilling. And it wasn't where I saw myself retiring. Now, there have been moments when it's been a tumultuous ride. It would have been stable. I know people who still work there. And I don't think I would be near as happy as I am right now. So I had to look, okay, what's not working in my life? This cubicle, this job isn't working. And then it was like, okay, for network marketing, what skills do I have? I love talking to people. I don't mind sharing things that I love. And that's what you need for network marketing. But then once I got into consulting and coaching and all those things, like it's the same thing. I just get to communicate the knowledge that I already have. For a while, I wanted to be a corporate trainer. So it's like it all fell into this, like, how do I help people be the best version of themselves? Okay, great. I love that. I love reading about personal development. I love taking personal development courses and then putting them into action in my own life so I can just be the best person. Well, I want to help other people do that. Okay. Well, that's honest. At the time, my skills were not there. And frankly, my skills in the beginning for network marketing, I had no skills. I had no skills at all, except that I was comfortable talking to people. But I've built tons of skills since then. So then it was like, okay, when I left network marketing, was like, what do I really want? It's not that the products were bad. I still use all the products. They're all over my house. I still share them with people. If people say they have a need, I still will be like, oh, you should try this because it works. So that's what I do. But I was like, I don't want to build a network marketing team anymore. It's not what I wanted. It's not where I was. So I was like, what is it that I really want? So I did. I took 6 months. And then I was like, you know what? This is what I want to do. And it was like, okay, but do I know how to start my own like consulting business? What do I need to do to set up a website to do it? It was so intimidating. It was scary as hell. And it just so happened, I got lucky. And I have a friend in my network named David B. So I found someone, which we will talk about this later, like more steps on how to do this for yourself if you don't just happen to have a David B in your network. I mean, you do now because you could reach out to him and he's amazing at helping people start their businesses. I mean, with everything. But I had no idea. I mean, through my old company, I had a web page. People could go order. It was linked to me because it was network marketing, but I didn't have to do any of that. So it was like, oh my gosh, to do my own business. And then it's okay. And then how do I want to structure my programs? What do I like? There's so many pieces that I did not realize when I started my business. But, what I did know, because I really had gone through this process, I knew I didn't want to be in corporate. There was a point where I knew I didn't want to do network marketing and build my team anymore. And I had to be honest about what is it that I want to do? And do I have the skills to do that? And then it's like, okay, and now what's my roadmap? So anytime I've shifted direction, I mean, even just from focusing only on my consulting business to the podcast, okay, what do we need to do moving forward? How is this going to work? What's the next step? Every time we shift something, even David and I have to go through this process. So So anyway, that's my best example of where these made a huge difference, and they showed up even if I wasn't thinking about it. This is what I had to do to be where I'm at now.
Yeah, no, it's perfect. Perfect example. It took us through all of the steps. The key for you, I think, is that you kept going and you keep going. So every time like something new comes up, you are honest and you're like, okay, what isn't working, right?
Yeah. And I'm going to touch on this, even though we're not covering this today, like having community, having people that you can reach out to, like in network marketing, it was an upline, but in starting my business, I have a ton of like people who are consultants and coaches and friends in that manner. I have friends who know what they're doing in different aspects of business. So it's being able to reach out to a network and have a community of people who could support me or who could go, I don't know how to do that, but hey, talk to my friend and they'll connect me with someone
right
who can help
but
me.
The key is you have to be willing to admit you don't know what you're doing and ask for that help. Like you're not going to ask if you can't really be upfront with it to yourself.
Well, and I think
what you're doing, right?
Yeah, it's hard to keep going sometimes. There were days I couldn't sleep. I cried. I was upset all throughout all of those because I just didn't, it was so uncomfortable. And I was like, I can't stay where I'm at. I can't keep doing this thing. It's not working for me anymore. But how do I move forward? And it's scary. It's scary. So yes, I did keep moving forward, but just know that you also don't have to do it alone. And we will have episodes on that specifically, but you do have to keep going. It has to be enough to know that you're not where you want to be and that you're not just going to go, well, okay, I'm just going to settle. Because if that's the case, then you're just going to stay where you're at and you be uncomfortable with the life that you're in, not doing the things you want to do, not accomplishing the marathons you want to accomplish or whatever it is in your life that you want to achieve. If you're not willing to push through and keep going, even though it sucks some days. Some days are awesome and exciting and some days really suck. So
I think it's dishonest to settle. It's dishonest to yourself and it's dishonest to other people, because if you say, well, at least I have a job, or there are things worse for other people, that's a lie that we tell ourselves over and over to cope with not being happy.
Right. There's a difference between being grateful and settling. Because being grateful, I have a job, I have an income, I have a roof over my head, even though I don't love this and I want to do something else. That's gratitude. But when it's whatever, at least I have a job. That's a totally different attitude and that's not gratitude.
And I think it's just human nature to want to do more. We can do better. We're always striving for something good. We're taught at a young age that don't be greedy, don't stand out. And
everyone gets a participation medal.
Yeah. And I think it's just detrimental to ourselves when we're suppressing that all of the time. And so if we can remember, hey, I am made for more. Hey, I could do something better. Hey, there are other people who are really similar to me that are doing these great things. I think those are really important things to keep in mind.
Yeah.
And if you're ever stuck, right, you can always go to our website and get our book, the IDKWTF I Was Doing, and it's okay. It's downloadable book, totally free.
Totally. Yeah, we have some resources in the book, and I mean, you'll want to go check it out. We're going to be diving in and through it over the next few months in our podcast, and we're going to be doing some more deep dives and interviews and really driving this home for you. But I love having a little tangible something I can read or check out and that adds value also. So definitely go download the book and let us know if you have any other tips with what you do when you don't know what you're doing. What's the next step you take? All right, action takers. See you next time. Have a great day.
All right, guys. Take care. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please consider liking, subscribing, and/or reviewing us on wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Also, if there's someone you know who clearly doesn't know what the fuck they're doing and would benefit from this topic, please hit that share button and send them this episode.
Let's normalize the feeling of uncertainty.
Asking for help and admitting that we don't know
What the fuck we're doing either.